The last thing my father said before leaving me at that bus station was something I would remember for the rest of my life. "Take this. It's more than enough for you." He placed a $20 bill in my hand like he was giving money to a stranger. Not his daughter. Not the little girl he once promised to protect. Just someone he wanted to forget. I stood there holding that crumpled bill, watching my family get back into the car. My mother sat in the passenger seat looking straight ahead. She didn't cry. She didn't argue. She didn't even say goodbye. My older brother looked at me through the window with a small smile, like my disappearance had finally solved all of his problems. And my younger sister, she looked scared, but she still let them drive away. That morning was supposed to be special. It was my 18th birthday. I thought I would wake up to love, celebration, and a family that was proud of me. Instead, I woke up to a suitcase, a long drive, and the shocking realization that the people I trusted most had already decided my future without me. 3 hours later, I was standing alone at a nearly empty bus station. No home to return to. No money except $20. No phone with a working charger. No one to call. I watched their car disappear, down the road until it became nothing, more than a small dot in the distance. That was the moment I realized something painful. I was completely on my own. I sat on an old wooden bench and opened my backpack. Inside were a few clothes, a notebook, and the only thing I had left from my grandmother, a small necklace and a letter she wrote before she passed away. My hands shook as I opened it. The message was simple. The people who walk away from you do not decide where your journey ends. At that time, I didn't believe those words, because all I felt was fear. How was I supposed to survive with $20? Where would I sleep? How would I start over? But I didn't know something important yet. That bus station wasn't where my life ended. It was where my real life began, because the same family who left me there believing I was worthless would one day regret that decision more than anything they had ever done. They thought they were leaving behind a failure. They had no idea they were creating someone they would one day beg to meet again. For the first few hours, I just sat there watching strangers come and go. Families hugged before boarding buses. Friends laughed while making travel plans. Parents held their children's hands tightly. Every time I saw them, I felt a sharp pain inside my chest, because I had once believed I had a family like that. I kept asking myself the same question. What did I do to deserve being abandoned? For years, I had tried to make my family proud. I helped around the house. I worked part-time after school. I stayed quiet whenever my brother received more attention than me. But no matter what I did, it never seemed enough. My father always said I was too weak. My brother always told me I would never succeed. And slowly I started believing them. That night, the temperature dropped, and the bus station became almost empty. I wrapped my jacket around myself and tried to stay awake. I didn't want to sleep because I was afraid someone would steal my backpack. That was when an elderly woman sitting across from me noticed my situation. She looked at the $20 bill in my hand, and then at my tired face. "Someone left you here, didn't they?" she asked softly. I didn't answer. I didn't want to admit it, but my silence told her everything. She sat beside me and said, "The hardest part about being abandoned isn't losing a place. It's losing the belief that you matter." Those words broke something inside me. For the first time that day, someone saw my pain. She introduced herself as Clara. She told me she had once lost everything too. "Life has a strange way of opening new doors after people slam old ones shut," she said. The next morning, Clara helped me find a small cafe near the bus station that needed workers. I walked inside, nervous and embarrassed. The owner looked at my worn backpack and tired expression. "I need someone reliable," she said. "I don't have much experience," I admitted, "but I promise I will work harder than anyone." She looked at me for a moment and smiled. "Come back tomorrow morning." For the first time in days, I felt a small spark of hope. I didn't have a home. I didn't have my family, but I had something they never expected me to have. The courage to start again. What I didn't know was that the cafe job would lead me to a person who would completely change my future. And years later, when my family discovered who I had become, they would wish they had never left me at that bus station. The next morning, I arrived at the cafe before sunrise. I didn't want sympathy. I didn't want anyone feeling sorry for me. I just wanted a chance. The owner, Mrs. Wilson, handed me an apron and showed me everything I needed to do. Cleaning tables, preparing orders, helping customers. It wasn't the life I imagined for myself at 18, but I quickly learned something important. A small opportunity can become the beginning of something much bigger. For the next several months, I worked harder than anyone around me. I arrived early. I stayed late. I learned everything I could. While other people saw a girl who had been abandoned, I saw someone who finally had the freedom to build her own future. Every night after work, I sat in my tiny rented room and studied. Business, communication, investing, leadership. I wanted to understand how successful people thought, because deep inside I promised myself one thing. I would never again depend on people who could leave me behind. One evening, almost a year after my family abandoned me, something unexpected happened. A customer walked into the cafe. He was wearing a simple jacket, but everyone around him treated him with respect. He sat at my table while I was cleaning. "You're different," he said. I smiled politely. "What do you mean?" "I've watched you for weeks. You treat every customer like they matter. You work like someone who has something to prove." I didn't know how to respond. His name was Daniel Carter. He owned a growing company that helped small businesses improve their online presence. After talking for a few minutes, he asked me a question. "If someone gave you a chance, what would you do with it?" I thought about the bus station, the $20, the moment my family drove away. Then I answered, I would make sure I never waste it. Daniel smiled. The next day, he invited me to his office. I expected a normal conversation. Instead, he offered me an internship, a real opportunity, a chance to learn, a chance to grow. "You don't need someone to save you," Daniel told me. "You just needed someone to believe in you." Those words stayed with me. Over the next few years, my life transformed. I went from counting every dollar I had to building something I never thought was possible. But just when I thought my past was finally behind me, one message changed everything. It was from my mother, the woman who watched me get abandoned, the woman who never looked back. Her message contained only one sentence. "Your father needs your help. Please come home." I stared at the screen for a long time. The people who left me when I needed them most were finally coming back because they needed me. For the first time in years, I held my phone in my hand and saw my mother's name on the screen. A name that once meant home, a name that once meant safety. But now, it only reminded me of an empty bus station and a $20 bill. I read her message again. "Your father needs your help. Please come home." A younger version of myself would have answered immediately. She would have forgotten the pain. She would have run back hoping her family finally wanted her. But I was no longer that girl. I had spent years rebuilding myself from nothing. I had learned that forgiveness and forgetting were two completely different things. After thinking carefully, I agreed to meet them. Not because I needed their approval, because I needed closure. When I arrived at the restaurant, I saw them sitting at a table. My father looked older. The confidence he once had was gone. My mother looked nervous. And my brother, the person who always believed he was better than me, couldn't even look me in the eyes. For a few seconds, nobody spoke. Then my father finally said the words I never thought I would hear. "I'm sorry." 2 simple words. Words I had waited years to hear. He explained how everything had fallen apart. The business failed. The money disappeared. The people they trusted walked away, the same way they had walked away from me. "We made the biggest mistake of our lives," my mother whispered. I looked at them quietly. "I spent years thinking I wasn't good enough because of what you did to me," I said. But then I realized something. I paused. "You didn't destroy my life when you left me." They looked confused. "You gave me the reason to create a new one." The room became silent. I didn't hate them anymore. I didn't need revenge. Because the best revenge was becoming someone they never believed I could be. I helped them get back on their feet. But I also made one thing clear. "I can forgive what happened," I said. "But I can never go back to being the person who begged for your love." I walked out of that restaurant feeling lighter than I had in years. Later that evening, I drove past the old bus station where everything began. The same benches were still there. The same road. The same place where my family thought they had left me with nothing. But they were wrong. That $20 bill wasn't the end of my story. It was the first page of it. Sometimes the people who leave you behind are unknowingly pushing you toward the life you were meant to build. My family thought abandoning me was their victory. They never realized it was the moment they created the strongest version of me.